Fathers could actually sell their sons. The Roman Empire was built on the labor of slaves who had no rights and they lived in horrible conditions. But surprisingly, there was one exception to this rule. Roman fathers could actually temporarily sell their sons into slavery, with the buyer agreeing on a price and duration. And then, if the son was returned in the same condition at the end of the term, everything was fine. However, if a father sold his son 3 times, well then he was considered unfit, and any son sold 3 times was legally emancipated. This whole 3 sale rule applied to each child, so a father could actually keep making money by simply having more children to sell. Number 9 leads us to the hair dye of adult workers. The Roman obsession with social standing extended even to physical appearance. In ancient Rome, native women typically had dark hair, while blonde hair was associated with Gauls and barbarians. Now, adult work was legal, but lower class adult workers were stigmatized. And to prevent any confusion between respectable Roman women and adult workers, a law required that the adult workers dye their hair blonde. But this backfired when noble Roman women began to envy the look and started dyeing their own hair or demanding blonde wigs be made from the hair of adult workers. And this led to widespread head shaving. Number 8 leads us to the public toilets. Although the Romans were often regarded as clean people, their public toilets would not meet today's standards. Rome had more than 140 communal public toilets that served as socializing spaces for people while they attended to their needs. While these toilets were connected to impressive sewage systems, archaeologists have actually discovered evidence suggesting that they were potential biohazards. These toilets were rarely cleaned, and archaeological evidence shows that they were infested with parasites such as fleas, lice, roundworms, and cockroaches. Coming up at the number 7 spot, the color purple. Did you know that wearing purple was off limits for most free Romans? Yeah, so back in ancient Rome, purple was a symbol of power as well as glory and royalty. So only the emperor and other high-ranking officials were actually permitted to wear purple togas. This was because purple dye was very expensive to produce, requiring 10,000 mollusks to make enough dye for just 1 toga. As a result, purple dye was worth its weight in gold, and laws were put in place to ensure that lower class Romans couldn't actually go and flaunt their wealth. Number 6, fathers could actually end lives. So let's explain. Early Roman society was deeply patriarchal, with men having complete control over their family members. This meant that a father even had the power to take the lives of his own children if he felt it was necessary. And for daughters, even after leaving home and getting married, their father could still have them eliminated. Sons only gained true independence after being sold 3 times or after their father had passed away. And these extreme rules were eventually relaxed with the abolition of a man's right to take the life of his family in the 1st century BC. So beginning as early as the age of 4, Kayan ladies in northern Thailand and Myanmar put brass coils around their necks, and they add more coils over the years to get accustomed to that feeling by the time they become adults. Now, these rings can weigh up to 25 pounds, and at first glance you may be like, ouch, this looks painful stretching your neck like this. However, the rings only make the woman's neck appear longer. A long neck is a sign of beauty, elegance, and wealth. I couldn't imagine my neck going like, ow. And then there are the women of the Maasai tribe in Kenya, and they're known for their practice of wearing heavy jewelry made of stones or other objects to continue stretching out their earlobes. This is very common among women, but men also are known to do this as well. Now, the Maasai women will adorn their ears with jewelry and beads to catch the attention of men. Or just to show off to people and be like, yeah, look how big my earlobes are. For real, they brag about this. Now let's look at the Mercy women of Ethiopia. These ladies, they put plates or discs in their bottom lip to stretch them out. This is also found in parts of South America as well, and they start off with smaller plates and they gradually increase the size of the disc or plate to stretch out their lip even more over time. Now, to insert the plate or the disc, 2 lower teeth are removed before a piercing is made to allow a heavy clay or wooden disc to be put inside of their lower lip. And a stretched lip makes you more attractive because it's a sign of maturity. Probably the most painful practice here is foot binding. Now, foot binding is said to have been inspired by the 10th century court dancer named Yao Niyang, who bound her feet into the shape of a new moon. Foot binding, aka the lotus foot, was a trend in China many years ago. And this process starts before your foot is actually even completely developed. And having a small foot in China is seen as making you more attractive. They love those tiny feet. Now our final beauty trend takes us to Arunachal Pradesh in India. Here we have the women of the Apatani tribe. Now they used to have wooden plugs put into the sides of their noses as a rite of passage. But you know, instead of actually adding to their beauty, making them more attractive, this process was actually started to make them look uglier. Now this practice was officially abolished in the year 1970, but this tradition was actually started to stop raiders from kidnapping and taking away the beautiful women of the tribe. At number 10, we have zombies. So archaeologists in Sicily have discovered evidence that the zombie phenomenon is actually not a recent development. Research conducted over the past decade shows that the phenomenon actually dates back to over 2,000 years. The archaeologist Carrie Sulowski-Weaver analyzed 2 burials from a Greek settlement in Sicily that she believed were the remains of the revenants. Now, the ancient Greeks believed that certain dead bodies could reanimate, and to prevent them from leaving their burial sites, they needed to be ritually killed or confined by pinning them down with large stones or fragments of amphora. Number 9 has to do with payment for the afterlife. In Greek mythology, it was believed that individuals who passed away, they had to pay Charon, which is the ferryman of River Styx, to enter the underworld. Now, to ensure safe passage, people were actually buried with obol, which is a Greek coin worth 1/6 of a drachma, and that was placed in their mouth or near their body as payment for Charon's services. Those who were unable to pay that fare, they were believed to wander aimlessly along the shores of River Styx for a century before being allowed to cross. Ancient Greeks also had some very severe punishments, particularly involving adultery. Adultery was viewed as a very severe offense, as the Greeks believed that adultery had a direct impact on the family, which of course was highly valued in their ancient society. Now, if you were caught in the act, the guardian of that woman had the legal right to end the life of her. Alternatively though, if the case went to court, the accused would face punishment such as having a large radish inserted into their behind, yeah, like up there, and having their pubic hair removed with hot ash. Ouch! For number 7, the ancient Greeks also were very fascinated with improving their physical fitness and appearance, and during exercise, men would strip down and apply oil to their bodies and exercise without clothes on. And here's an interesting fact about this. The term gymnasium actually derives from the Greek word gymnasion, which translates to school for unclothed exercise. Interesting. Gymnasiums, they were highly valued and considered essential in every major city, with observing the bodies of the men working out being part of gym culture. That's just what Men did observe other men at the gym without clothes. And upon finishing their workout, men used a semicircular tool called a striggle to scrape off the oil and dead skin. And those scrapings could then be sold as elixirs to the public. Coming down to the number 6 spot, let's talk about male statues. Although ancient Greeks placed great value on muscular and masculine physiques for men, they had an opposite preference when it came to male private parts, and we see that in their statues. So Greek statues found in museums today depict men that are poorly endowed, since erect private parts were seen as a sign of stupidity. Okay. But smaller private parts, or at least private parts that were flaccid, meaning that they weren't hard, they were actually ones that were idolized, and they symbolized having great intelligence if they were small. Yeah. Next up at number 5, here we have Manichaeism. A Persian man named Mani founded this religion in the 3rd century AD. Now, the founder claimed that he was bringing together all of the religions of the world, including, get this, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, and Christianity. Now, he focused on the differences between good and evil, and Manichaeism was known for having knowledge, as it is a road to salvation. The people who followed this religion were known as elect, or the perfect, and they resembled Buddhist monks. This religion lost its popularity though in the Middle Ages. Let's look at TENGRIISM at number 4. This religion was one of the oldest religions in the world, and it was founded in the Bronze Age. It was developed by the people of the Altai Mountains in Central Asia. This religion was monotheistic, and it had heavy elements of ancestor worship. There were no holy books to this religion. However, it is believed that the Huns of the northern Caucasus may have worshipped Tengri, which was a god to which they sacrificed horses. The religion at number 3 is ASHURISM. This religion was almost identical to the older Babylonian religions, but it had one main difference. Instead of considering Marduk as the supreme deity, the Assyrians honored Ashur. Now, it was a polytheistic religion, and it had thousands of gods, with 20 of them being the most important gods. This religion has many stories in common with Judaism and also Christianity. In at the number 2 spot, we have VEDISM. The religion of Indo-Aryans, VEDISM was popular from 1500 BC to about 500 BC. This can be considered the foundation of the modern Hindu belief system because they share the same holy text and the 4 Vedas. This religion was polytheistic, and the gods were divided into 2 categories. And these categories were Devas, which are gods of nature, and Asuras, which are gods of moral concepts. Priests played a big role in the religious ceremonies, and their aim was to improve the lives of people and to please God. Now, the supreme god of VEDISM was Indra. Now, the religion at number 1 is OLMEC religion. OLMEC religion was followed by the Mesoamerican Olmec people. This religion was popular from 1400 BC up until its destruction in 400 BC. Now, there was no direct evidence of this religion, so archaeologists had to really compare relics with the Mayan and Aztec religions, and they looked for similarities there. The most popular god of this religion was a jaguar god of rain and fertility. And although some theories suggest that there was no one main god, instead there were 8 equally important gods. The priests of this religion were said to have inhaled some sort of hallucinogen or some sort of drug to communicate with the spirits. Who really knows? Because there's just not much information about the Olmec religion.